Hi Gemini, thank you for joining me. This is your astrology forecast for January 2016. So let's see what the first month of the new year has to offer you, and what you'll be working with. So the first thing is that Pluto, that's an outer planet and it's a very heavy, dark energy. It represents change, it represents death and rebirth. That's at 15 degrees and it's conjunct with your sun. So it sits together with your sun there and it's in the 8th house. So basically what that means is central to your identity is going to be this idea of change. What are you going to change, especially in regard to how other people see you, how you come across. So it's central to your identity, but in relation to others. Okay. So are you in a job where people don't take you seriously? Are you in a situation where people take advantage of you? Are you too nice? Okay, and that's a difficult topic because, you know, a lot of, unfortunately, and I've experienced this lately, unfortunately, when you come across as someone who's genuinely in the light, and not to say that I am genuinely in the light, but if you come across as someone who doesn't want conflict and who thinks the best of people, unfortunately, some people feel inclined to then take advantage of you, okay? And if you're in any position like that where you're not comfortable with the way other people respond to you or see you, that's going to be really highlighted at the beginning of January. The two planets move closer together and it becomes strongest on the 6th of January, and then they move away again and they have that connection until the 17th of January, okay? So this is all about your identity in relation to other people, especially in an institution or some sort of greater placement in your life. So if it's at school, you know, do people see you as the nerd or the cheerleader or the art geek or whatever? You know, people put labels on others. If it's at work, how do people see you? Do they think do you do a good job? Are you on the path to success? If you're in a retirement village, you know, how do people see you there? What is it that you're putting out that's giving people the perception of you as that? Okay, so people tend to label, but also we play a part in that. You know, if people don't take you seriously, then what are you doing that comes across as less than serious? So those are going to be big themes for you at the beginning of the month. Mercury goes into Aquarius on the 2nd, and that happens in your 9th. Okay, so Mercury, the planet of communication, moves into your 9th house of education, travel, and expansion. For you to explore spiritual principles or to explore academic subjects, to educate yourself, is something that's really going to work very well for you. If you've had to prepare for an exam, or if you had to learn something that you've been putting off, or you want to enroll for a course, really the 2nd of January is a good day to do that, because your imagination is fired, your mind works well, works quickly. I don't know about you, but there's no rhyme and reason to it. Sometimes the words just trip out of your mouth and you can be very eloquent, and sometimes you can barely speak. Why does that happen? I personally feel that it's the astrology that has a strong impact, and it's also our physiology, obviously, you know, what you're putting in your body, the way you sleep, all of those things. But they combine. The 2nd of January for you is a good day to use your intellect in some way. On the 3rd of January, there's a T-square in your chart, and it connects your rising sign in Aries, Mars and the moon in your 5th house, and then this Mercury. So there's going to be a strong desire to fulfill your dreams, especially when it comes to your romantic relationships and when it comes to the relationships with your children. The answer to both for you, Gemini, studious Gemini, is to study. So if you don't get on with your kids, I remember it was so funny, I used to work with this woman, and she sat next to me in this office, and her child would get thrown out of school every day. And I mean, it's not funny, the poor woman, she was like at her wit's end. But she'd get a call every day saying, you've got to pick up your son, you've got to pick up your son. He's thrown a flower pot through the window, or he's put paint on the teacher's seat, or something outrageous every day. And one day she just kind of says, I hate him so much. The way to deal with that kind of situation is to study, literally. Do a parenting class, read a book about how to get on with your kids more. I know it's not funny, it's a terrible thing. It just, you can solve it. You can resolve it by actually applying yourself to it. And also with romance, you know, if you just strike out all the time, or if no one's interested or whatever, if you just can't make it happen, what can you do differently to improve your potential, to improve your chances? Okay. I'm sorry to that lady. I'm sorry I'm laughing at your difficult situation with your child, but it was her response that was just so over the top that just killed me. Okay, Mars goes into Scorpio on the 4th. Okay, and Mars is in your 6th house of day-to-day routine and work. Okay, and you feel a certain way about your daily routine, and you feel a very strong, intense desire about your routine at the moment. You know, sometimes we live our lives and we live in an area or a neighborhood or something, and you don't even see it after a while. You know, if you live in some sort of like horrible area, you get used to it and you just kind of start living in your own bubble. When you go away on holiday and you come back and you see it again for what it really is, it can be like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And you really look at your day-to-day routine and you're just like, oh my God, I'm like driving an hour each way. What the hell am I doing? Or why am I in this job? What happened? So 4th of January is a real moment of clarity, and you have an intense emotional response to something that you routinely do. And it's sometimes those moments are like a slap in the face. It's like, oh my God, have I been sleepwalking for the last couple of months? Because I'm just realizing that I'm really not happy with this. And I personally feel that this is going to be a negative response more than a positive one. Mercury goes retrograde on the 6th. Mercury is the planet of communication and exchanging ideas. When it goes into retrograde, it's like roadblock. You have to find a different way around. You have to find a different way of communicating, of expressing yourself. That is in your 9th house of education. So that's kind of a couple of days earlier, that huge input into learning something new becomes heightened now, but it becomes skewed in some way. So it may be that you apply for this course, but then there's no space on that course and you have to do something different. And that then is ultimately what you were meant to do. So there's some sort of karmic influence here, whereas you have a lucky accident which takes you a different way. So if things aren't going exactly as planned on the 6th, don't rebel too much. It's all happening for the right reasons. It's all meant to be. But this is the kind of thing where destiny sometimes steps in a little bit, urges you to do something, and then shapes it around so that it works out in your favor. I really believe that. That retrograde goes until the 25th of January, okay? So that's when the retrograde is active. On the 6th as well, Neptune sextiles your rising sign, your ascendant. And your ascendant is in Taurus in your 12th house, and your Neptune is in Pisces in your 10th. So you're going to feel very practical, a practical connection to your own sense of spirituality, and you're going to feel full of spirituality. Neptune then is the veil being drawn aside, and you understand your work for what it really is. You have a really clear understanding of what you've been doing. And that echoes what happened earlier, where it's like, oh my God, why have I been there? So you're going to have a revelation at the beginning of January, especially when it comes to work. And if you're happy and you see it for the first time, how lucky you are to have such a fabulous job, to work so little and to have so much money, then hooray, good for you. If it's like, oh my God, I hate this job and this place is terrible, then good for you. You have that moment of clarity. You can do something about it. On the 8th, Jupiter and the North Node, they connect, they conjunct each other, and they start to square the Moon on this day. Do they? Jupiter and the North Node square the Moon. No, they don't. Jupiter and the North Node just conjunct, they join each other in the 4th house here, in your 4th house in Virgo, and they stay there for a while, okay? They're sitting there pretty much the whole month, and this is a really good time for you to work on family relationships. Yeah, the whole month. So if, you know, again, if their family has been an issue for you, if family has been a problem, then look at what you can do, how you can affect the situation, how you can make it better, and you'll be lucky, you'll have a good outcome to that, and it can ultimately take you to where you want to go. It does square it. What am I doing? Okay, yeah. So that applies, but it also squares your moon on that day. And the moon is what you feel on a soul level and what you feel nurtured by. And that's in Sagittarius. So you have a clear idea where you want your family relationships to go to. By taking practical action and by thinking of the ultimate goal, you can take your family relationships where you want them to. Okay? So if you have, I don't know, a brother who you don't get on with, you want to do something about that, then really allow yourself to dream the dream, to hope that things can be worked out, and then put those things into place, and you can make inroads, you can make progress. Mercury goes into Capricorn on the 9th of January, and Mercury, again, this communication planet, it's still in retrograde. When it's in Capricorn, it becomes much heavier and it becomes much more practical. So you're looking at practical ways of communicating yourself differently. How are you received? How are you perceived by other people? And I think there's a change in your identity. I think through your understanding, you put out a different energy and you get a different result as an outcome. And also on the 9th, Pluto and the Sun actually straddle this midheaven. So you've got one foot on the old way of being at work, you've got one foot in the new way of being, and you're just you've got an open perspective at the moment, and you're looking at how you come across, you're looking at how things are moving and getting on. Make a decision or see what the outcome is. Really do some empirical research, if that's a term. Do some research and keep an open mind. The new moon happens on the 10th of January. And this new moon is in Capricorn, so it pulls in all of this Capricorn energy, and you're working at reinventing yourself, really. This isn't just going to serve you at your existing job, this is going to serve you whenever you have contact with other people, always, forever, okay? So, you know, it is about being yourself, but it is about focusing on your strengths and minimizing the weaknesses, okay? So, you know, in my own life, for instance, I find it very difficult to be at ease with new people straight away. I tend to protect myself a little bit, and I need to know a little bit about that person so I can kind of relax. So by putting my things in a format that's comfortable for me, like for instance YouTube works well for me because I sidestep that awkwardness. That works for me, so I put my best foot forward in terms of that. I'm aware of that about myself, therefore I work around it, okay? And you really have a great opportunity for that on the 10th of January. Now that's the strongest energy until the 13th. On the 13th there's a Grand Trine that appears in the chart, and it stays there until the 21st. A Grand Trine is an area of real understanding, clarity. I get it, okay? That is in Earth, and it's between your spiritual higher self truth of who you are, your good connection with family, and this perception other people have of you and this identity that you've created. So I think you really get it now. You really understand, okay, it's because I've been saying things in a certain way, or my body language has implied something. You really get a much greater practical understanding about your physical self, about your place in the world. Because the truth is here, Gemini, that the real world is an illusion. We're all spiritually perfect, we're all spiritually ideal, and everything is perfect in spiritual truth. But on the physical realm, this is my body, you know, and if you run into me on the street, this is what you get. You don't get some spiritual kind of like avatar, this is what you get. So you have to pay attention to that. We're not just spiritual beings, we are having a human experience, and you've got to listen to that to make the human experience the best you can. On the 15th, there's a T-square, and so remember, you've got all of this personal insight going on, that's kind of filling your head, and you're just getting aha moments all the time. Now you've got extra friction and extra tension, and something that comes up is a real work disappointment that had an impact on your family life. So for instance, if you were married with a young child and then you lost your job, the amount of pressure that put on your relationship, you're reminded of that today, and you have the ability to make up for that past horrible experience. By thinking with love, by thinking of how can I make things better for myself and other people, you're able to amend that past memory and put it to bed, put it away. Mars opposes the moon on the 17th of January, and the moon is in Taurus. You've got a lot of Taurus kind of heavy energy here in January, Gemini, and heavy energy for you is quite unusual because you like to keep things moving, you like to change, and you like to find out new things. You've got structure and you've got a solidity about yourself that really allows you to look at things more long-term, more permanently, and to make a to avoid can't talk. You can avoid knee-jerk reactions, and you can make a consistent, calm, sober, concrete decision. You have that patience within yourself that's not always there. That moon then opposes Mars, which is that intense feeling that you've got about your work. And those two kind of play off each other, okay? So what is it? Is it the intensity? Are you reacting to something that's kind of annoying you? Or are you really justified with thinking things the way they are? Should you make a change, or should you work on the feelings? Is it an inside job? Is it an outside job? And that's going to be the question here on the 17th. And really, I think personally that you're connected with your higher self, that your head is in the right place, and that it is sometimes right to make changes. So if you've discovered something about yourself during the month, and you get the prompt to change your job, or to change your relationship, or to do something differently, and to start again, then I would honor that. On the 18th of January, there's a kite in the chart. A kite is a Grand Trine with 2 sextiles on top of it, and it literally looks like a kite. Okay, so all of these ideas that you've got about your identity, the past negative experience, the disappointment in your personal relationship, all of those things come together to give you that eureka moment. And the lights go on the 18th, and you understand the thing that you didn't understand before. So you have a real moment of clarity about your life, and these moments are priceless because they can change your whole life. Okay, so you understand yourself in your role as human in the world. And that is super, super empowering. On the 20th, more energy comes in. So you're going to have a really powerful month. Okay, the strongest element in your chart is Earth. And you're going to have a very strong month in terms of the realizations you get and the actions you take as a result and as a response to those realizations. That's really the key here to everything I'm talking about. So on the 20th, the moon and Saturn now oppose each other, and they apex in Chiron. So you feel very much yourself on this date, the 20th of Jan. You've got this understanding, it's dropped in, the moon is in your first house of self, in your sign. That may be in direct conflict with other people, and their opinions of you haven't changed yet, or they're still seeing you in the old way. And the way to move forward with that is to hang on to your new understanding rather than giving into a sense of disappointment, or giving into a sense of, I was this way, I always have to be this way, things always have to stay the same. Throw that out the window and really embrace this new understanding about yourself that you've got. That's the answer to work with that friction. On the 21st, the sun goes into Aquarius, so this is now happy birthday to all the Aquarians. That happens in your 9th house. So your identity becomes focused on education again, and focused on growing and expanding, but expanding and growing in an intellectual sense and in a spiritual sense, and becoming more skilled about your understanding about the world and yourself. So really, this is a very enlightening month for you so far. On the 22nd, there's a new Grand Trine that occurs, and that's in water, in your 2nd house, your 6th, and your 10th. So this is now the 22nd. If I have to look at your month in terms of, work and career and romance and family, this is the best time to understand your work and to feel comfortable while asserting yourself and pushing forward to make your job compatible with you, and to feel like you belong and you fit into what you're doing. So it's not that the job gets better, it's that your clarity about the job gets better. Your clarity about you as the worker gets more clear. You know, if you're an accountant, are you an accountant? Or are you an artist who happens to work as an accountant? If it's the latter, that's a problem. And you have real insight to that. Listen to that. It can be really, really inconvenient, but it's important that you listen to those voices and make the changes accordingly. Venus goes into your 8th house of other people and institutions on the 24th, and it goes into the sign of Capricorn. Now, the goddess of love in Capricorn means that she's diligent, that you like to work, that you engage with the process, that disappointments don't stop you. You know that you have to do the work and you move forward. So from the 24th to the end of the month, you become much more diligent and much more empowered, and you love what you're doing. And you have the stamina and strength to continue in it. The full moon also occurs on the 24th. The full moon is in Leo, and that's in your 3rd house. So this search for self that's been going on in January culminates in this Leo, and I think you communicate to yourself and to other people who you really are, and it's like knowing yourself, becoming the true you. A lot of people never have that. A lot of people are always on the search, they never find. And something clicks within you that really gives you a sense of, yes, okay, I can take that, I can own it. On the 26th of January, there's another T-square here, and it's between Neptune and the Moon, and it culminates in your rising sign, in Gemini. Okay, so the dream of work, the stability you now have, right, you have stability within yourself, you understand yourself much better. Because of that understanding, you now have a dream in terms of what you want to do work-wise. Communicate that, go your own way, listen to that voice, take action, and you can achieve it. So I really see this as change now. Earth and air combine, your ideas now alter your physical reality. So, for instance, my reality now, me sitting here talking to you, is a result of a decision I made 3 years ago, which is to make YouTube videos. That's why I'm sitting here now, okay? So the decision I made today are going to have an impact on me in a year or 2 years' time. You have one of those moments where you realize something, the decisions you make today on the 26th of Jan will alter your future reality. The moon conjuncts Jupiter and the North Node in the 4th. And I don't know if I've emphasized this enough, but really this is a good month for you to get advice and structure and security from your family. They will really nurture you and support you. And that's a wonderful resource that you can draw on. On the 29th, there's another Grand Trine. So this month has been all over the place, and this one feels very comfortable to you now because it's in air. And this is the best day for you in your romantic life. So if you're single, if you're looking to date, if you're trying to meet someone new, or if you're just trying to have a nice evening with your other half, plan it for the 29th of January. That's the most conducive. The moon conjuncts Mars on the 31st of January, and that's in your 6th house. So again, the feeling of intensity about your day-to-day routine. Have you made the changes? Have you become happier with what you didn't like or what you've tried to change? Again, it's an opportunity to check in with yourself. Am I happy with what I'm doing? You know, if you have to commute 2 hours a day and you hate it, don't do it anymore. I know sometimes it's as simple as that. And I'm sorry if you disagree with that, but I believe that. So sometimes you've got to just make tough decisions and figure out a different way to work. And those kind of personal displeasures and personal gripes are going to be highlighted. And it's important to listen to them if you want to get rid of them. So I hope that's been useful to you. If you'd like a private reading with me, please visit my website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the readings tab. You'll see the types of readings that I offer. And please remember to subscribe to the channel. I will be with you next month for the February forecast, and I'm also here with you daily for the daily tarot predictions. So I hope to connect with you soon, and take care.